Megyn Kelly, and we begin today with Ed Edwards. Ever hear of him? Me neither. But he is potentially one of the most prolific serial killers of our time. This is a story about 2 jailbreaks, several murders, a criminal so good at pretending to be reformed that he talked his way onto a national game show, and his possible connection to unsolved murders from the Zodiac killings out in California to Jimmy Hoffa to John Benet Ramsey. Stay with me. In a minute, we're going to meet that man's grandson, Wayne Wolfe, who until recently had no idea that he was related to a serial killer. But first, take a look at this.
It was arranged, it was premeditated, it was thought out, it was planned.
So you're admitting to being a cold-blooded killer then?
In fact, yeah, that's right. I'm a sick person.
Ed Edwards lived a life of crime and trauma. Edwards lost his mother through suicide at the age of 2 and later was allegedly abused by those meant to care for him. Some, including former Detective John Cameron, say these events contributed to Edwards' life as a career criminal.
He had rage, he was diagnosed a sadomasochist, and he started his life of crime.
Edwards began with small thefts, which quickly turned into jail time. In 1961, an escape from prison landed Edwards on the FBI's 10 Most Wanted list. He served 5 years in prison and was released on parole. On the surface, he was reformed, a husband and father who moved on with his life. But that's exactly when John Cameron believes his killing spree took off.
As he got older, in his late 60s and 70s, he was able to groom his way into the lives of his victims so much easier because he's a harmless old man.
In 1980, a young couple was murdered on their way to a wedding. Their bodies were not found for another 2 months. 29 years later, in 2009, DNA testing matched Ed Edwards to these murders. Once caught, he also confessed to killing 3 others, including his own foster son.
That's where they both died. Put them in the van and drove off and exposed them in a cornfield.
Now, in the new documentary, it was him, the many murders of Ed Edwards. Edwards' grandson, Wayne Wolfe, dives into his family's dark past.
It makes me second guess everything in my life. Do people look at me differently now knowing that I'm the grandchild of a serial killer? I need to find out if I have evil coursing through my veins. I mean, am I going to wake up one day and want to murder someone?
Ed's grandson, Wayne Wolfe, is here with me now, along with former Sergeant Detective John Cameron. Good morning to you both. Thank you so much for being here.
Morning. Thanks for having
me. So let's start with that. That's a scary question. Let's go back, because you did not grow up understanding you were related to this man, Ed Edwards.
Yeah, not really. It was more of like you knew that there was another man that provided the genetic material to your father. But, you know, my grandfather was Chuck Wolfe, Clarence Wolfe, the man that raised my dad. And his birth father was never in the picture. So, you know, I didn't really know his name.
Wait, so what's your dad's name?
My father is Wayne Wolfe.
Okay. And his dad's... You decided to do a genealogy search.
Yeah, I was doing.
And you decided to look up your paternal lineage as well.
Yeah, I was doing some research for my mom because she wanted to know more about her family. And then my dad called me and said, "Hey, what's up, buddy?" And I told him what I was doing, and he was kind of ignorant to the technology of like, "Oh, you could find that stuff out. You should look into my dad." And you know, I'll just say I'll forever be a contributor to Wikipedia.
Because so you're looking up your information. Who's my grandfather? Who's my dad's dad? And it turns out your dad was adopted, and that his birth mother had expunged, that she basically erased all record of your dad's connection to his actual father, who is the serial killer. So that's how you put together your actual grandfather is the serial killer, Ed Edwards. Did you break that news to your dad?
I did.
What did he say?
We cried because, you know, it's a really intense thing to find out. Because you always wonder, you know, was my father a hero? Was he a lawyer, a fireman? No, he's a murderer, and a very good one. To forgive the term good, you know, very accurate, I should say. Or...
Do you really have that fear that evil is something that's inherited?
You know, I think, you know, now, after going through what I went through and going on this journey with John, it's more of like, I think everyone has evil in them because, you know, there's just something that can just happen. You know, I don't think that when it comes to any particular combination of genes that'll make someone evil or anything like that. I think it's more of, your environment and how you were raised and what you find to be, the proper set of morals. Or
Have you ever felt the desire to commit a crime?
Yeah, and I think everyone has. And if you don't, if you are someone that is like, I've never thought about hurting someone, I've never wanted to punch someone in the face, I've never thought about committing a crime, then you were lying to yourself, because everyone has.
I've never thought about murdering somebody.
Neither have I, but it makes you question it, because, it's like the out of sight of mind, ignorance is bliss. If you were to find out that you were related directly to a potential mass murderer, you would certainly question, well, will I ever want to someday?
Yeah, you'd have that. There's no question you'd have some fear about what that meant for you. John, you have literally dedicated most of your adult life to figuring out exactly what Ed Edwards was responsible for and what he wasn't. And, you look at this guy's history. It started off, his mother killed herself when he was 2. He went to the orphanage. He claims he was physically abused. He got kicked out of the orphanage. He got kicked out of public school. He tried to join up for the Marines. He got kicked out of the Marines. He robbed. He burgled. He stole. He went to jail. He broke out twice. He convinced 3 women to marry him. He had a total of how many children? 4?
Six total,
Oh,
including
6.
Wayne's father.
Okay, so he had Ed Edwards Jr., to whom he was not a parent, right? How many murders ultimately have been officially pinned on him?
Officially, he's pled guilty to 5 murders, 2 of them being couples parked on lovers' lanes that he snuck up on and shot and stabbed and tortured. And then a young man that he adopted and collected $250,000 of insurance on in '96. And those murders spanned 20 years.
So there's a question about how extensive his murder spree was. The Zodiac killings. The truth is, it may be up to 20 plus, 30 plus people who were killed by the Zodiac Killer.
Well, he claimed 34 in a letter in 1974.
He, the Zodiac Killer?
Yes.
Whoever that may be.
Right.
Okay. He claimed how many?
34 in 1974 in a letter he sent.
And are there that many unsolved murders? I mean, for the people who go back and study it, could you identify that many bodies that have?
There were many, yes, and there were at least that many that I found prior to that, 70, from the time he started killing in 1945 until the time he got caught in 2009. It was unbelievable how many he killed. Just in the 8-month period he was with Wayne's grandma, he killed 8, and 2 of them in my hometown on a lover's lane. And so that was the
Well, you're conflating Ed Edwards plus the Zodiac Killer, and I know you believe Ed Edwards was the Zodiac Killer, right?
Yes, yes.
But let's just stay on. So the Zodiac Killer may have killed over 20 or even over 30. We don't know.
Right. He took claim to 34.
What is your best evidence that Ed Edwards was the Zodiac Killer?
There were 2 cryptograms sent in by the Zodiac Killer, one in 69
What is that?
and one in 70. They were like puzzles, and he basically said, if you solve these puzzles, you'll have my name. And in 2010, when we confronted Ed Edwards about being the Zodiac Killer after we solved the 13-character cipher, Edward Edwards' name is 13 characters. And what he had done is taken the letters in his name and reversed imaged the letters as hieroglyphics. So you could never solve the Zodiac case without knowing the name Edward Edwards. And once we did, we confronted him. He sent us a letter saying, it's me. You don't know the whole story. I have a lot to tell you. And that he framed people his whole life. That was what he wanted me to know at the very beginning, is that every murder he did, he intended to frame somebody.
And is it true that his children say he would watch news reports about the Zodiac Killers and have outbursts? And what were they?
Yeah, he would actually force his kids to watch movies like The Exorcist and the Zodiac movies, and then he would have outbursts when they're watching the Zodiac movies saying things like, that's not how it happened, because he knew how it happened. Mm-hmm. I believe Edwards is responsible for hundreds of other murders. Dozens of famous murders in the last 70 years were created by this one man, Edward Wayne Edwards.
That was former Sergeant Detective John Cameron discussing his theory about Ed Edwards on how prolific killer he may have been. He's with me now along with Ed's grandson, Wayne Wolfe. So it turns out that one of Ed Edwards' own children, who would be a half-sibling to your dad, was the one who turned him in. He had a daughter named April, who is the one who called it to the authorities' attention that he may have murdered 2 people out in California, right?
That's correct.
California,
Yeah,
and that's
Wisconsin.
what he was in Wisconsin, and that's how he was ultimately put in jail. So let's just talk about the number of murders you believe, sitting here today, he was responsible for.
Well, he was free to kill for 66 years. He was in prison 14 of those years, so he wasn't probably killing then. But he would average 5 to 10 a year that he was capable of doing it. Every waking moment of his life was to kill somebody and to frame somebody.
Did he have an M.O.?
He would kill by knife, by rope, by gun, and by fire. And that, strangle them, stab them, burn them, shoot them. Didn't matter what age you were, what sex you were, what color you were. He created hatred with his murders. He tried to create hatred.
He was also sort of a con man. I mean, you say he liked to frame people. Playing games was part of his joy. And is it true he actually, before he was convicted of any murder, he had just had a life of stealing, he actually managed to talk his way onto a game show? Onto that show, To Tell the Truth?
Yeah, he appeared on To Tell the Truth in 1972, just before he published this book, which is called Metamorphosis of a Criminal. And this book was actually the answer to all the murders he had committed. He placed all the names, the cities, the states that he would kill in, and that he had killed in, and then he would tie all of his murders after he published this book to the book.
But that book is supposed to be about his reform. And the guy was going around lecturing at churches and schools about how he had led this life of crime, but now he was reformed. And meanwhile, he's still murdering people. All right, so let's just go through a few of these, because the Zodiac, okay, I get you on the cipher. It says Edward Edwards. But now, we know who killed Laci Peterson. Scott Peterson, and he's on death row out in California right now.
Yes, he is. And actually, Laci was killed 6 years after Joe Monet Ramsey. Edwards ties a lot of his murders to 666, killing them on 12/26 or 9/6 of 66. I mean, he tied a lot of this to the occult. Scott and Laci Peterson, we all hated Scott Peterson. We all thought he was guilty because he was cheating on his wife. And that's how Edwards would work, is he would pick victims whose husbands or wives were cheating.
Well, how would he know that Scott Peterson was cheating on his wife at the time? That all came out later.
He was actually a doctor of psychiatry throughout his life, having offices where he would be under assumed identity, rope his victims into the office, get personal information on them, and then figure out for sometimes years in advance, how am I going to
Well, but was he
them?
seeing Amber Fry, Scott Peterson's affair partner? I mean, like, this one seems like a big leap.
Well, that's what everybody said, and that's the one I've gotten the most stuff about. But that's where the evidence led. He's a very ritualistic killer. And when you follow his patterns and the dates he kills, Christmas, Laci was killed on Christmas Eve. Her body was found on Palm Sunday. He stages his murders on Christian holidays, 4th of July, Memorial Days, anything that's a significant day in history.
You also suggest he may be responsible for this. It's called the Black Dahlia murder. But that happened when he was 13.
He was 13
and his family
years
says he
old.
couldn't possibly have been in the state where it took place. I mean, do you think he began killing at as young as 13?
Actually, it was a year before that. He had dismembered a little 6-year-old girl in a very similar fashion. And so Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia, was the representation of his mother, who he was there when she was killed. So he kind of spent his whole life killing women that looked like his mother, and also killing children that were of his age when he was destroyed.
And also, you say killing Jimmy Hoffa, who he met in prison. What evidence do we have that he killed off Jimmy Hoffa?
He actually writes 3 pages in this book about Jimmy Hoffa. And Jimmy Hoffa called him a homosexual when he was in prison. And that's the only reason he would have needed to do it. And he actually informed to the FBI on the Jimmy Hoffa case, trying to frame a guy that was a gangster out of Chicago.
I should underscore, these theories are not accepted by law enforcement. They're your belief based on years of studying this guy and, it must be said, corresponding with him in prison. May I ask you, what is the photo album?
I can feel that because it's a very personal thing in our family. When I found out about Ed and had been starting to go through everything with my father, it just randomly came up. He's like, I think I have something that my mom gave me that he made.
There's nothing in there. It's black pages.
And it's the reason behind that. He had spent 8 months carving that in prison. And he said, put photos of our son in here someday because I'm going to find him and I'm going to kill him. That's why those pages are empty. That's the original construction paper from 1958.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it's terrible how beautiful it is, too.
Well,
Yeah.
he became an expert in leather works while in prison.
For 8 months.
And that's another thing that links to the Zodiac Killer, who
Right.
was wearing a leather mask and said he had served time in this one prison where Ed Edwards had served in the course of attempting one of his murders. You guys, thank you for being here and telling us your story. All the best to you personally as well. The show, It Was Him, The Many Murders of Ed Edwards, premieres Monday, April 16th on Paramount Network. We'll be right back.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.